Hi all, good morning, good afternoon and good evening to everyone. This video we are going to learn and discuss about what are all the frequently asked tricky interview questions and in real time how these are the things has been handled in RPA. See, when we talk about real time, think you have a process with 100 records. So you're running your process, 10 records has been processed, remaining 90 records not been processed. How in that case, how will retry the failed cases in our process? See, usually when we have data failed in real time, we are retrying with system. We are always checking with counter values, retry counter as 3. Why? Because 3. Think about that, the 90 records, remaining 90 records has not been processed because of some RPA environment errors. So in that case, so bot will retry second time and bot will fetch all the values and complete the current run. This is the expected behavior from the bot in real time. Think about that. Now your bot is running first time. Your counter value is 1. Business exceptions are not needed for retry. Only the exceptions for automation, related exception, and environment exception, and system exceptions. These exception has to be retry. How retry mechanism will work in RPA? See, when we talk about retry, usually in real-time project, we are mentioned as 3. These 3 will help. Maybe think about that for each data. If it is in 90 data are remaining not processed, every data will come under this retry 3 mechanism. Even though there is some errors related to environment or system, whatever it is, bot will retry. This is the mechanism we are using in real time. See, in Blue Prism, how these exceptions will be handled and how the exceptions will be moved into unhandled like that. So in that case, we have how we are handling failed cases. First thing is retry count. The second thing is we have to use recover and resume stage. If you talk about automation anywhere, that is begin and error, generic error handling we have. Through that we can capture the message, we can retry on it. But in here in Blue Prism, you have the standard recover and resume stage. You can recover and you can resume based on your count. Here you can see between the start and end, you can mention the read count as 3. Until it reach 3, this recover and resume will be continuing that loop. See in Blue Prism how this recover or resume will work. When we talk about resume, think about you have resume. You cannot have a resume stage without have a recover. So resume always come up with recover. Without recover, resume will not work out. In general, if you want to continue with the process flow, you want to continue the process flow after an exception. So, so you have recover and resume and exception. Thing you want to continue the process flow after an exception, you utilize the resume stage and have the connected to an end or other stages in your process. So in that case, how you are doing? You are recover and resume, and you have to you want to continue with the process, then you have to connect it with end. A typical example, think about your process attempt to launch Internet Explorer but fail to launch application. Blue Prism automatically throws an exception, maybe system and internal, and failure to handle such exception will cause the process to terminate. So how to solve this issue? When you decide to surround the action with a black stage and recover stage inside the black as well. So you have the recover stage inside the black. Now you can see enter from my currency. It is the recover inside your stage 2 black. The essence, if it fails, the recover stage is activated and the instructions upon failure is also activated. But if otherwise, the process continues as per normal without going into the recover stage. See, think through that you are expecting the process to be more reliable, and in that case, you have to include system retrace as 3 times. So you can set a counter value as a system exception, system retrace. You can set the at least 3. The rationale behind the is after trying 3 times, the assumption is the program should be able to launch IA. Think about that first time the window is not exist, or else a robot has been checking before the window has been launched. In that case, the loop is trying with second time. The second time it's find out the window. Now it works fine. If you terminate with the initial attempt or first try, maybe bot will cause the termination and you have to launch again. The only way we can continue with that flow is to have a resume stage after counter implementation to link back to the process. So that's how the resume stage function will work on it. Okay, now you can see how recover will work on it. So usually the recover is the in .NET you can hear about the try and catch. Resume is always try, recover is always catch the exception. Very important to avoid a program crash or process termination. So you could use a recover stage within a block to capture all sorts of exceptions associated with a couple of stages. So this is similar to have a try and catch block in the other program languages. You try a statement or couple of statements. Example, input and output operation, and if it fails. So if you have a catch block, decide the throw exception, perform other instruction. So there are some instances where you decide to rethrow the exception. So now you want to rethrow this exception. Instead of dealing with it, the page or segment so that bubbles into the main page of the process. So it's like a invalid operation exception in .NET. The same way. So the bubbling. So when you talk about even bubbling, it is always same as in each and every RPA methodology. So how even bubbling will work out in RPA? If any errors happen, it will come up with recover and it will move into the main page. It will handle in main page, and the count will if you want to increase the count, so at attempt 2, attempt 3 will be happened. Suppose you don't want to continue with the attempt, then it will throw the exception and the bot will terminate. So it's like a try catch methodology in other technology like .NET. Okay, this is the one for we can retry the failed cases through the system retries and recover and resume. So when we talk about the second question, how will handle the frequent changing or dynamic website and GUI application in your automation? Think about that. Now you want to automate a particular web application. The web application controls, which means customer ID or name or domain path class, it is changing each and every time. Assume how you can manage, how you can handle this situation. So here you can see some one example. The first time they are launching, they are getting as a divide 6 8. Second time when they capture, that is divide 9. So when divide 8 will come, then divide 9 will come. We don't know when we capture the particular text box. See how you can handle this situation in Blue Prism. So in this case, you have to use dynamic match type attribute in application modular. So when we talk about dynamic, it will find the element you would like to interact with the application modular with the reference path with the particular value or else text. If you make as window text as dynamic, so depending on your interaction with the application, you can read and write interacting with more than one field. See, during the implementation of the dynamic is always you have to make sure to check the checkboxes dynamic, and your right or navigate stage should be captured on this for the particular area. And one more option is there. You have to find the element with the application modeler and you can locate the path and mark the match checkbox and the match type to dynamic. Click apply and OK. You have two options to check with dynamic. So how dynamic will work? What is the dynamic attributes? See, the dynamic match type, it allows to specify the value of an attribute from the diagram rather than use the one in application modular. So when we mark an attribute as dynamic, we are essentially telling application modeler, don't use your value for this attribute, use the value the diagram is going to give you. That is exactly the dynamic. Think about that. You are opening the Google. Today, maybe assume today is a Sadurthi or Vinayaka Sadurthi. So Google Doodle will come up with some banner with celebrations of particular festival. In tomorrow, some World Cup matches will come. The banner will come and banner will change into related to World Cup match. So it will dynamically change. So when we mark as dynamic, the application modeler always interrupt. You can use and get the dynamic value from my application. So the most common example do match against the value of data item. Suppose think about your account detail. It will contain with customer name or ID. That is something we are not going to know until runtime. Yes, correct. When an attribute is made dynamic, the matching value needs to be supplied on the fly. Yes, whenever you are making us dynamic, the value need to be supplied on the fly. It's not a already decided one. On the fly, whatever it's coming. Suppose think about SSN number. You don't know the numbers. On the fly, every citizen has different SSN number. On the fly, it will come, it will take it, and it will move forward on it. So read, write, navigate, or wait stages you can use in the dynamic attributes. Can be thought of as a mandatory input parameter required by any stage using the element. So you have to check static or else dynamic. Okay, guys, let's talk about other questions in some other videos. So here you can see some other questions as what is the RPA tool that you used and explain the architecture of the tool. So you have to explain the architecture of whatever the tool you have used. Maybe you have AA, BP or UiPath or WorkFusion or Express. So whatever it may be. So you must know the architecture first. So without knowing the architecture, you can't qualify or you can't analyze the further investigation of issues and what's happening inside the tool. That is first thing. And next question, how will you do the data migration in case of any risk happens in your existing automation process? See, actually, how the data migration will happen, usually we have a cluster servers. Unless and until your process is very small, your project is very small, that is okay. Suppose think about that, you are handling the complex process that has updated and inserted values more than 20 lakhs records each and every day through your automation. Then the cluster servers has to be apply if any risk happens. How cluster will work if any of the server. So in cluster servers always to be located, suppose BC, like with BCP plan, business continuity plan. You are one of the servers available. Think about that. You are located, your company located, you're developed with location as Delhi. So your first BCP cluster server, data migration server available in Delhi. Another server will be available in Mumbai or else Chennai. So these are the cluster servers. Always these servers have linked servers. So in if any case, sometimes some of the servers will be available in other countries as well. So in that case, if anything happens in one of the cluster server or linked server, other server has the same data. So business continuity plan will be automatically applied to the data migration. So this is the data related things. Suppose you have the so suppose anything risk happens in your source repository or else your repository server, the control room server will be automatically picked over and we can make it and we can take it from control room server. Suppose think about that you are using UiPath. The UiPath will support TFS, Team Foundation server and Subversion. So you can take it from Subversion server and you can move on it. Okay, the next question is how to identify the process is good candidature to automation or not. Assume you are taking the banking process. The first thing is the process is good or bad. It's all about identifying the application behavior. The banking website, do you want, if you want to automate the banking website, in that case, you have to check what is the application. It's SAP application or Java application or else .NET application or else Salesforce, whatever it is the application, you have to, or else Ariba applications, you have to check the application. And the second thing is what you want to automate, what you want to achieve through this automation. How many savings, FTEs you want me to achieve on this. The second thing. The third thing is which tool you are going to use to automate this process. The three things has to be mainly captured the discovery stage. So we can identify if application behavior is good and automation tool has been selected and I can open and I can communicate through this is the part I want to automate. Suppose I want to automate only one screen, simply taking, simply assuming that things are good, then we can probably move to automation. Suppose we are planning to automate the tool which is on, suppose think about that you are planning to automate some version, SAP 5.0 or 6.0. So think assume that SAP version has been, if it is changed the version, then the next version changed, automatically the previous version of your automation will not work. Assume that. So in that case, your automation is not a good candidature or good automation. If it is changed, even though the if it is version changed, the control changed, your automation has to work with the minimal code impact. So these are the parameters we can identify the process is good or it is automatable or not. Yeah, what are the common parameters used to decide if the process is automatable or not? Yes, the common parameter is the identification or application behavior. The second parameter is process automation area or coverage plays. The third parameter is how automation has to be implemented, partially or complete automation or semi-partial. So what is the way they want to implement? Some automations have partially. They have some manual interventions. Once the manual intervention is completed, then they will automation will start. Some automation has some manual intervention. After that, some automation will happen. After that, some manual intervention. That is semi automations. So this type of parameters has to be defined. The process is automatable or not. The fourth one is how to define simple, medium, or complex process in RPA perspective. See, you can define simple or medium or complex based on the think about that you are planning to automate that process has moving through five applications or else five different applications it has to be handled and more than 100 clicks or more than 200 text boxes and more than 25 screens moving. So in that case, if you have more than 400 keystrokes or else your attributes has to be handled, in that case it's a process is complex. More than 400 attributes with which means more than 400 values you need to capture or extract with more than three applications if it is handling three and more than three applications your automation has been handled, that is complex process. If it is small or how we can call it as a simple, think about that Excel, Word or else CSV format. Your automation has only using these formats and uploading some Excel file into database. In that cases, we can identify as simple. If it works within 2 weeks of development and 1 week of testing, in that case it will be simple. How complex will work? 6 or 8 weeks of development and 4 weeks of testing. Complex will work. How medium will work? If you have any one of the application integrated with Excel and Word and CSV files and some database insertion with 3 weeks of development and 2 weeks of testing will come up under the medium process. See how you are handling the logs in terms of process exception and failures. See, when we talk about log in if you are using with our automation anywhere tool, then they have given an option as automation log. If you add log to file, then automation log will store on it, and you can, if any exception will happen, your logs will show you which area that error or exception will be handling. And one more default option is that automation as well defaultly they have logs in each and every task ATMX files. Suppose anything happen in your application, any errors happened. Suppose think about you have 10 ATMX or 10 task files. It has to be shown the statuses if it is completed or failed or error. So if it is completed, no none of the worry about that. But if it is the status as shown as failed, then probably you can see log. When you see the view log, it will show you which line it has been failed. So if possible, I will show you in visibility how it will logs will works in exception and failures. Here, how are you handling the infrastructure failures in RPA-enabled environments? So when you talk about infrastructure, think about your bot is running inside the VDI. Some of the VDA disconnectivity has been happened. How you know the VDA has been disconnected or not? See, think about that your bot is running continuously and your bot is sending the blank screenshot. In that case, you can aware the VDA has been disconnected. If anywhere VDA has been disconnected, then bot sometimes bot will not terminate, but bot continuously running with taking the blank screenshot and will send you. That is the initial stage of disconnect. Once disconnected completely, then you can't catch anything on it. Video disconnectivity is one of the failure. How you can see that one in control room or in system manager, you can see your video has been disconnected at the time of 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. How when your video connected, your client needs to be connected or else your client or resource PC will be need to connected with your control room and system manager. If it is not connected, probably the reference of the connectivity will show us red. So we can identify this has been disconnected. Suppose think about that other infrastructures like other than VDA disconnectivity, maybe uh, if you are running your bot, database connectivity has sometimes problem will come. Think through that. If you are running with your automation, sometimes general network error, connection sent, timeout has been happened, or else check your system administrator. That kind of error message, like general network error. So in that case, how we can handle through the bot in real time? We are trying with 3 times. If even 3 times as well we are getting the same error, bot will terminate. This is the database side infrastructure failures. So in other way, if you talk about other ways, sometimes system idle. So think about that when you configuring with the bot, you have to increase your system idle time as well as your Windows sleeping time as well. Otherwise, the bot will not run on it. And one more thing, suppose if you want to change your system, which means the Windows server credentials, sometimes after 60 days Windows server credential will be changed automatically. That is the reason bot or your robo cannot in unattended mode. So most of the people will know what is attended mode and unattended mode. Think through that. You are running your bot in your machine or else your server with the attended environment. You can see visually. Unattended or headless automation is different. You can running your bot through control room or you are scheduling or you are deploying. You doesn't see the visuality. So it's running on it in background. So that is unattended mode. So in that unattended mode, so you can see and you can manage on it. So these are the things we can manage through infrastructure failures. So which complex scenario do you automate and what is the savings realized in FTE as well as cost? So when we talk about FTE, think through that your application or else your process has been working, or else your bot is continuously running 5 to 8 hours in a day with minimum 20 to 25 days, 5 to 7 hours in 25 days monthly. In that case, that scenario will capture 1 FTE saving cost. This is the real time. Think through that. One of the accountant in bank, it's coming morning 10 a.m. and working up to 7 p.m. The 8 hours continuously keeps working within the month 20 or 25 days. The same will be fitted in automation as well. If you are replacing the resource, that is 1 FTE savings. If you are replacing the if you are replacing a resource with the validation or else audit purpose, in that case it will say only 0.8. Think through that. Your automation has completed, still that person has not been replaced, still the person is there, and the person needs to validate the automation. That is the condition. Is if it is there, then probably that is not 1 FTE savings, that is zero point 0.5 or zero point 0.7 FTE savings. The complex scenario do you automate it? See, when we talk about complex scenarios, sometimes the application behaviors. See, in real time, when we automated an application, so it's always my automation tool is always behaving before capturing, before the application is loaded. My automation never going and capturing to the particular area. In that case, it's failing always. So we doesn't know the behavior. After some time, we analyze that. So my web application or my application has been not been loaded even, but my bot is going to capturing before the loading time. Think through that. Your bot doesn't know your page is loaded completed or not, even though your window is exist, or even though your mapping is loading has been completed, whatever it is, still your bot doesn't know your application is loaded or not. In that case, we have option show and hidden. If you implemented the show option, it will automatically take, and if it is the application loaded and particular text box has been shown, then only your bot will go and pick and capture the particular area. Okay, what are the common buzzwords currently used in the RPA world? See, RPA is always have lot of buzzwords like attended, unattended, or headless, or control room, or else objects, or else cloning, or else recorders. So whatever the new keywords are available, most of the things are buzzwords in automation. Okay guys, let's see some more questions in next video. Bye.